Texans facing pressure from rising costs.
We have to disrupt property taxes as we know it.
The race for governor providing promises for relief.
A $1,500 money in your pocket cash back that comes out of our rainy day fund.
We look closer at the proposals coming to light on the campaign trail. A hospital advertisement sparks a new political battle, why state leaders are scrutinizing claims of birth tourism after the Supreme Court's ruling on birthright citizenship.
We're in it to win it. We're going to ban commercialized THC here in Texas.
A new round in the fight over THC products in Texas. We look at the renewed push at the Capitol to take these products off store shelves for good.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Rising costs have many Texans facing concerns about affordability. Candidates in the race for governor are pushing ideas to provide relief. Capitol correspondent Adam Schwager looks closer at the proposals, including one that could send money directly to Texans.
It's $1,500 for every Texas household.
We must abolish school district property taxes on your homesteads.
Two dueling economic proposals, both hitting at the same issue.
People are feeling unhappy and pinched by the economy and particularly by daily costs of living.
Jim Henson is a professor and pollster at the University of Texas. He doesn't find either of these strategies surprising.
I think the question is who can come up with a better proposal. We're still seeing a lot of trial balloons here on both sides to see what catches fire.
Hinojosa says her proposal would take $17 billion out of the state's Economic Stabilization Fund, also known as the Rainy Day Fund. In 2025, the Comptroller's Office announced the fund had reached its cap, nearly hitting $27 billion. Hinojosa says Texas needs to spend that money and use it to help families directly.
Working Texans aren't making it. It is now a trend in this state where working Texans are giving plasma, blood, as a second job to pay their bills.
Any disbursement of the funds would require a 2/3 vote of both chambers of the state legislature, which Hinojosa thinks she can get.
I'd like to see a politician or a legislator vote against $1,500 to their constituents, to their voters.
Henson is not as sure, especially if Hinojosa wins, but Republicans hold the legislature.
I think there would be a significant level of resistance to giving a Democratic governor anything that she wanted.
On the opposite side, incumbent Governor Greg Abbott has also been building support for his property tax plan. In May, he said 88 Republican House candidates support his agenda, including eliminating school district property taxes on homesteads. For State of Texas, I'm Adam Schwager.
Texas lawmakers have made moves in recent years to cut property taxes. Governor Abbott says Texans need more relief. Here's more of what he told supporters about his tax cut plan at last month's Republican Party convention.
We have to disrupt property taxes as we know it, and my law will get that done. We have to restrict and limit local government spending. You should never have your property taxes increased without you having a vote on it, and that vote should require 2/3 vote approval before your property taxes ever go up again. Right now, your appraisals can go up 10% a year, and that's ridiculous. We must reduce the appraisal cap from 10% to no more than 3% a year. And we should stop using your homestead to fund education in the state of Texas. We must abolish school district property taxes on your homesteads. We do these things and every Texan will be able to live in their home forever.
Hinojosa told us she agrees structural changes are needed in state government, but she defends her push for giving Texans a one-time payment from the Rainy Day Fund.
Listen, there is no consensus for using that money. That's why it has sat for years, but it is irresponsible to be sitting on that kind of money. We should all be able to get behind just sending that money back to Texans, especially at a time when what I am seeing across this state is that the American dream is in peril in Texas. When I was a little girl, we understood with everything we were that this was the land of opportunity, and especially in Texas, if you worked hard, you could get ahead. You could own your own home, you could have children, send your kids to a good school down the street, you could go on vacation once in a while and retire with dignity. And I will tell you that the American dream is out of reach for too many working Texans. So my plan is simple and it is short, because the plan should be as plain as the promise of the American dream. Put money in your pocket and save Texas schools.
Governor Abbott has not responded to Hinojosa's call to release money from the state's rainy day fund. Big money in the battle for U.S. Senate. One campaign is setting fundraising records in a race that's getting nationwide attention. A major court ruling opens up a new political debate in Texas. Why some Republicans are scrutinizing who is eligible for citizenship at birth. The debate over legal THC products heads for another round. What lawmakers say they'll target and what businesses are bracing for. The race for U.S. Senate in Texas is on pace to set records for campaign spending, and this week brought new evidence of the big money coming in for both candidates. Wednesday brought second quarter fundraising announcements from both Republican Ken Paxton and Democrat James Talarico. Paxton's campaign announced that he raised more than $9 million in the second quarter of the year. The spokesperson for the National Republican Senatorial Committee said that total is the largest fundraising quarter for any non-incumbent GOP Senate candidate this cycle. Hours after Paxton's announcement, Talarico announced his campaign raised $30 million in the quarter. That's more than 3 times what Paxton raised. His campaign noted that it set a record for the most money any Senate candidate has raised in the second quarter ever. In recent weeks, Talarico's campaign has attacked Paxton over what he is calling the Hoffman files. Talarico requested internal documents at the Texas Attorney General's office over its handling of the Adam Hoffman case. Hoffman was a former Waco attorney who was accused of sexually assaulting a child for years. His trial ended with a hung jury. The child victim refused to testify at a second trial, so prosecutors offered a plea deal. Hoffman pleaded guilty to reduced charges and was sentenced to 60 days in prison. The controversy over the plea deal first came to light during the Republican primary. Now Talarico is calling it a sweetheart deal. Paxton's office has defended the prosecutor's work. Capitol reporter Dylan McKim looks closer at the controversy and why a child sex abuse case like this can be hard to prosecute.
U.S. Senate Democratic candidate James Talarico said that his public information request for all internal documents related to the Adam Hoffman case was rejected by the Attorney General's office. But he still continued his criticism of Ken Paxton and his office's handling of this case, calling it a sweetheart deal.
He refuses to answer any questions on this sweetheart deal. And I think Texans deserve answers.
Standing behind a Release the Hoffman Files sign, Talarico once again pushed his political opponent, Ken Paxton, to release internal documents regarding the plea agreement in the Hoffman case, a McClellan County case that gained national criticism after Hoffman pleaded guilty to indecent assault and spent about a month behind bars. Indecent assault is a misdemeanor and carries a prison sentence up to 1 year.
He was let out of jail after 29 days. I want to know why that is.
Prosecutors in the Attorney General's office defended their work, pointing out that the child did not want to testify in court again. In a letter sent to a Republican lawmaker in May, the prosecutor said, quote, "We hope you can understand this difficult decision, which was made entirely in the best interest of the child involved. Studies have shown that child sexual abuse cases are difficult to prosecute." Claire Andreessen, a former prosecutor of the Child Abuse Division at the Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office, said over the phone that child sex abuse cases are often devoid of evidence that a jury would expect to see in a criminal case.
Child abuse happens in private, so there's often going to be no eyewitnesses to it other than the child victim and the defendant. You might have limited physical evidence.
Talarico believes the public should be able to see all the facts that led to the plea deal.
And if there's nothing to hide, then the Attorney General should feel comfortable releasing this information.
Talarico said that his campaign would continue to push Paxton and the Attorney General's office to release those documents, but when asked what his campaign would do, Talarico did not provide any specifics. Dylan McKim, State of Texas.
We reached out to Paxton's campaign and asked if they had any comment to Talarico's news conference. We did not hear back before our deadline. They call it birth tourism, and it's getting new attention from Texas leaders. We look closer at the debate unfolding after the governor puts a spotlight on one Texas hospital. A high-profile push to ban products many Texans use to get high fell short last session. How supporters are touting a new attempt when lawmakers return to Austin. Governor Greg Abbott ordered the State Department of Health and Human Services to investigate a southern border hospital he alleges is advertising birth packages to non-Americans. The directive comes as Republicans continue to raise concerns after last month's Supreme Court ruling that blocked the Trump administration's effort to limit birthright citizenship. News Nation's Allie Bradley digs deeper into the response from the governor.
Yet advertisements for birth packages in South Texas are now the center of a state investigation led by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. In a letter to Health and Human Services Commission's Executive Commissioner, Abbott called for the investigation into Mission Regional Medical Center near the U.S.-Mexico border after the hospital allegedly advertised birth packages in South Texas in foreign countries, apparently promoting giving birth in the United States. The billboards also directed people to a website called Have My Baby in Texas. That site is no longer online. Abbott said, quote, birth tourism is an illegal practice that exploits the extraordinary hospitality that the United States and Texas offer to millions of foreign travelers each year. HHSC must investigate the hospital, a facility it regulates, for any violations of state law and contractual obligations. Mission Regional Medical Center pushed back on the allegations, saying it does not support or facilitate any unlawful activity and remains committed to complying with all applicable federal and state laws and regulations. The hospital also said the marketing materials regarding maternity services are no longer in use due to any unintended misunderstanding. It added that it intends to work cooperatively and transparently with state and local officials while continuing to provide safe, high-quality care. Abbott's directive comes as Republicans continue raising concerns over birth tourism following last week's Supreme Court ruling related to the Trump administration's effort to limit birthright citizenship. Birth tourism is a practice of traveling to another country to give birth so a child obtains citizenship there. And according to the Migration Policy Institute, as many as 26,000 children born in the United States each year may be linked to the practice. Immigration experts also note that U.S. Customs and Border Protection already has the authority under existing law to deny admission to foreign nationals if agents determine they are misrepresenting the purpose of their trip, including if they believe someone is traveling primarily to give birth in the United States. They say no additional legal authority would be required for CBP to refuse entry in those circumstances. Abbott closed his letter by pledging to work with the Texas legislature to, quote, strengthen state law and eliminate birth tourism in Texas, writing American citizenship is not for sale, and Texas will not permit our healthcare system to be used as a magnet for birth tourism. The Texas Health and Human Services Commission says it's already working to immediately implement the governor's directive and has referred the matter to the agency's Office of Inspector General. And President Trump weighed in on the issue as well, saying billboards and signs are appearing along the southern border in Mexico and across the United States, advertising birthright citizenship and maternity packages. In a Truth Social post, he wrote, quote, American citizenship is not for sale, and said he plans to ask the U.S. Supreme Court to immediately rehear its recent birthright citizenship decision. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said that they might even look within the administration a little bit harder at allowing foreign nationals who are pregnant to come into the country. In Del Rio, Allie Bradley for News Nation.
The Supreme Court's decision on birthright citizenship has one Texas lawmaker asking the governor to call a special session. State Representative Brian Harrison says lawmakers need to act now to prevent the State Department of Health and Human Services from issuing birth certificates to those without U.S. documentation.
There is nothing in the United States Constitution that requires the state of Texas to use state tax dollars to direct state employees to create state documents and then hand them to illegal aliens.
DSHS has faced litigation over denying birth certificates in the past. In 2015, 17 families sued the state for not accepting certain forms of Mexican and other Latin American identification for birth certificates. The case was settled, with Texas eventually accepting the documents they had been rejecting. On Wednesday at the Texas Capitol, Republican senators also brought up a unique citizenship concern regarding babies born to foreign parents. They highlighted cases where parents from another country, like China, hire a surrogate mother in Texas to deliver the baby in a Lone Star state.
Maybe we don't want to encourage birthright citizenship and tourism and create a network of American citizens that we don't even know.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick made the issue an interim charge for the Texas Senate. Lawmakers will look at potential legislation to ban foreign nationals from hiring surrogate mothers in Texas. This week, a federal district court found Texas holding mentally incompetent detainees in jail for months or even years as they wait for a state hospital bed is unconstitutional. The ruling comes in a 10-year-long class action case that went to trial last December. Disability Rights Texas and Edwards Law challenged the state's practice of holding mentally incompetent people in jail for prolonged periods. On Tuesday, senior U.S. District Judge David Ezra found the plaintiffs' constitutional rights to due process were violated. He gave the state a 4-year deadline to start moving people into state hospitals within 21 days for competency restoration.
Hopefully it means that they will not remain in jail for a long period of time where they then decompensate and incur additional harms. The court found additional harms of death, malnutrition, dehydration, while they waited to get over to a state hospital, because jails are just not the appropriate place for individuals who have been found incompetent to stand trial with mental illnesses to remain.
The case most likely isn't over. Beth Mitchell from Disability Rights Texas, who you just heard from, said she expects Texas to appeal the decision. For years, our team has reported on the impact of the state's wait list. In 2019, our Catalyst project, Locked in Limbo, profiled cases of men who spiraled deeper into mental illness while stuck in jail. Following our reporting, lawmakers mandated a state audit, which found more than 50 people on the wait list had died before getting treatment. Wait times and the number of people waiting have dropped since then. You can find more from our original reporting right now on our website. Just look for the links in this week's State of Texas story.
We don't see this as some kind of war on us.
Law enforcement does. That's why we've been here every time.
A renewed fight over THC products in Texas. How Republican senators are setting the stage for another attempt at a ban when lawmakers return to the Capitol. In 6 months, Texas lawmakers will gavel back in for the 90th legislative session. It's almost guaranteed there will be another debate over banning THC, the psychoactive chemical in cannabis. Last year, the legislature approved an outright ban of consumable hemp products containing THC, but the governor vetoed the bill over constitutional concerns. The Department of State Health Services passed rules earlier this year to regulate the hemp industry in Texas, but it is currently facing legal challenges. On Tuesday, lawmakers talked about the health concerns related to THC. Capitol reporter Dylan McKim was in the meeting and shows us how Republicans will try to approach the issue in the coming legislative session.
Mom, I'm gonna take my life today.
Aubrey Adams, who lives in Colorado, testified to Texas lawmakers Tuesday about her son's difficulties with THC. She showed pictures of her son, who she says was diagnosed with cannabis use disorder and became suicidal after a psychotic break. She's here in Texas to advocate for a ban of commercial THC.
We're in it to win it. We're going to ban commercialized THC here in Texas.
An issue that has divided Texans in both parties. So divisive that Aubrey got into a confrontation with a woman who said she recorded our interview to fact-check her medical claims of THC.
And they take all the families.
We don't see this as some kind of war on us.
Law enforcement does. That's why we've been here every time.
Republican senators on the Health and Human Services Commission appear ready to ban consumable THC again next year, using the argument that THC is raising healthcare costs in Texas.
Whatever you do on your own time, if it doesn't impact me, I don't really care. But when you start costing me taxpayer dollars, then it's not a libertarian issue. It's not a right issue.
But while senators agree on protecting children from THC, there's still an argument to be had over the health benefits of the drug.
I just want to say on the microphone, I think it's pretty well established that there are some therapeutic values to THC. There just are.
Dylan McKim, State of Texas.
Senators only heard invited testimony at the hearing. No hemp advocates were invited to speak. Before the hearing, the Texas Hemp Business Council called on its members to submit written testimony for lawmakers. A post on the council's website said in part, quote, "The hemp industry supports thoughtful, science-based regulation that protects consumers while preserving legal access to hemp products. Balanced policymaking requires considering both the potential risks and the documented benefits, economic impact, and responsible use of legal hemp products." The council is currently in a legal battle over new regulations aimed at hemp businesses. The Texas Department of State Health Services implemented rules to ban some of the most popular hemp products like pre-rolled joints. They also raised licensing fees for hemp retailers. It used to be $155, now it's $5,000. Manufacturers of hemp-derived THC face an even steeper fee. It's now $10,000 per facility. The Hemp Business Council is seeking a permanent injunction to block the rules. The state is trying to get the case thrown out. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.